to write in the chat where you are connecting from. This is something very simple, but it helps us to connect and create this network of soul and become more aware of how extended we are as a network all around, connecting from the whole world. We see people from Illinois, from Rome, from Hungary. So this is a first magical action that help us connect as souls. I can see people from Brazil. Wow, so this is for our international English speaking people. Yes, we do have translation. We do have the translation, so you can choose it by clicking the symbol of the globe, and that's where you can choose the interpretation channel. Now I can see many more people. Finland, Washington, Portugal, Italy, Vermont, Florence. This is so beautiful. We are ready to start. So again, welcome everyone. My name is Entello Convoy. I am the responsible of our academy here in Damanhur. And tonight we're dedicating this session talking about alchemy. Throughout the year, we organize moments during which we meet, some gatherings. And these moments, usually we study, we experiment together, we research together on several topics. So tonight, the topic we chose is alchemy. And if you are here, I imagine it's because you are curious to know and experiment alchemy, Damanhurian alchemy. So is the which is the experience of Damanhur when it's regarding alchemy. So uh, all our paths, all our schools are born within a magical project. So this is not just a company offering a course, but this is our reality that we created, that we built in order to spread messages, knowledge, experiences, which are contained within a magical vision of life. And the magical vision that we are living for is to help humanity to reconnect with the divine part, but also with all the forms, animals, stars, aliens, subtle forces of the whole planet. So this is a journey that we are experiencing together. And it's an experience proposed by the Academy of Damanhur so that we can share some tools that can be useful to reconnect with our divine parts and reconnect with the ecosystem around us. And tonight we're doing this through the lens of alchemy. The School of Alchemy is organizing this event because the program of alchemy is about to start. So a structured program structured on 3 different levels, and we're close to begin that program. So if tonight you somehow feel a connection or recall to this topic, if you desire, there is the possibility then to continue this path. You will meet some of the instructors of the School of Alchemy, those who will be your trainers throughout the path, throughout the chemical path. And you'll do that by having different experiences, sharing different knowledge and aspects of alchemy, which is a very, very big topic that can be linked to many aspects of our life. And this is my personal point of view. Alchemy opens up to a vision which goes beyond fantasy. It's when Harry Potter becomes reality. So the magic, the purest magic, the most beautiful magic. So from the ritual parts to many other parts. It's something extraordinary. So I remind you also that you have comments available here for you. So if you have questions, you can write your questions in the chat or your thoughts, your impressions, share a thought. Please use the chat box to interact with us and with all the instructors. And as you know, during this events, there are many people, so maybe we're not able to answer to every single message, but anyway, this is part of how we can be connected and how can we experience this together. Let me check if Ragno Lattuga is here with us. Ragno is one of the founders of the School of Alchemy, is one of the instructors of the School of Alchemy, and he will accompany you throughout this journey. He will introduce this topic. What I usually like doing in these moments is to wish you, first of all, to have fun. My hope tonight is that you have fun, even though we are in front of a screen. A screen, let's imagine this is a portal, a dimensional portal through which we can connect with alchemy and magic. So let's start from this. And then my wish is also for this knowledge to open within you some doors, some portals that contain parts of yourselves, memories, emotions, feelings that somehow may connect to that magical drawing, that project, a dream, a desire, deep desire that it's contained within each one of us. There we go. Ragno, con te Ragno. Thank you, Entello. Good evening, everyone. Here I am. Ragno, I will leave it to you so that you can start this journey, this experience together, this online workshop. And I wish you all to have fun together with our alchemists and to experiment with joy Damanhurian alchemy. I greet you with the Damanhurian greeting, convoy, which means with you. Ragno, over to you. Thank you, Entello. Let me introduce myself. Those of you who don't know me, I am Ragno Lattuga. I am a researcher, been researching alchemy for 25 years now, since when I moved to Damanhur, because I moved 25 years ago. In fact, Damanhur was born as a place where souls can evolve. This was the main objective, desire of the founder of Damanhur, Falco Tarassaco, and that's how it was started. But then through experience and knowledge that was transmitted from person to person, I, together with another group of researchers, we kept this we kept this research going, and we founded this school. And this school is the result of the Damanhurian experience and the knowledge shared by Falco, and again the experience of more than hundreds of people. So now we've been here for many years, more than 10 years now, doing this school, and we are together creating groups so that we can then connect and have together the possibility to getting to know ourselves and therefore evolve. This is the fundamental objective of alchemy, the evolution of humankind. So starting from where we are and bringing us to our higher level. This is the path that any alchemist is on. And since tonight, we usually do, we introduce the school, the path. So tonight you will meet three instructors, me included, who will share with you three important topics. These, of course, are just some introductions, because of course in 45 minutes each, we will share with you some aspects about what alchemy is from many points of views, but also coming from our experience. So each one of us will speak about their own experience. So it's not just about what we read on books, because otherwise this wouldn't be an alive alchemy. In fact, we talk and we approach to alchemy to what we call the alchemy of the alive forces, the alchemy of life, experienced life, and the whole life around us. How do we get to know it? How do we direct it? How do we move within it? How do we transform it? And so on. The first topic tonight, of course, is the attention and the attention of ourselves, our self-knowledge, what the ancient ones would call the alchemical fire, the attention, the focus on each one of us. And Gura will talk to you about this specific topic. I'm inviting Gura to join me. Please, Gura, raise your hand so that Nautilo can find you. There you go. We can hear you now. And now let's see if we can also see her on the big screen. Otherwise, Gura, I leave it to you. And everyone, you enjoy and see you later. Okay, Gura, welcome everyone. My name is Gura Loto. And I'm also a passionate of alchemy, and this passion started many years ago, and still today, this passion is very much alive. I will talk to you about alchemy of alive forces. Specifically, I will speak about emotions, these forces, these energies that flow within us. And I will speak to you, I will talk about emotions by contextualizing it in a wider context. We live in a society which is constantly searching for living longer, living better, living in a more comfortable way, living with more certainties, with more control. And because of this, the humankind developed, especially in the Western world, developed very much the physical senses, the intellect, and the physical senses, our five senses, right? The sight, the hearing, the touch, the taste, and the smell. These are tools that we use to perceive the world, to perceive what is outside of us and bring that within. Our senses, our physical senses, they protect us. They help us in reaching some goals, in doing things, in perceiving them, but they are senses that perceive only one part of the reality, which is the external one, the external reality. When the whole of our perception is only exclusively anchored to what happens outside, to the external world, well, then the life that we conduct develops itself all around stimulus and reactions. So when we live an experience, when something happens in our life, usually we react. When a person talks to us, And especially when someone tells us things that touch us or that we don't like, well, then we react. As a consequence, an emotion emerges, but the emotion itself is a reaction. So this stimulus that come from the external world, they find some reaction, so we respond. The problem, or what becomes a problem, it becomes a problem when reactions are mechanical reactions. And the majority of our reactions are mechanical because we live very much by identifying ourselves with our physical body and with our physical senses. The fact of identifying ourselves with that means that we usually misinterpret what we are experiencing with what we are. So a thought comes through when we live an experience. It comes to the body through an emotion. We produce a chemical substance. And that thought, that emotion, that substance becomes me. So we become that emotion, we become that thought. So the emotions that arise within us by experiencing everything that we experience, usually we don't observe them, but we are completely taken by them. So we don't create any distance so that we can observe it and understand and transform. So when we are in a reactive state, we work only in a mechanical way, not aware. And this state of identification is what keeps humankind in a condition of automatism. So we live in an autopilot. So external events create stimulus, they generate responses which are always similar one to another because they are reactions, because we don't choose them. We could say then that identifying ourselves completely, totally with our body, with our physical senses, and by acting in a mechanical way, well, then by doing that, we are living without any center, without any aware center that observes what happens. Losing ourselves completely in our inner states that we experience. So emotions, thoughts often takes control. Those take control. And in addition to this, we don't know that we're not only one, but we are a multitude of essences and experiences that from our point of view, so from the philosophical Damanhurian point of view, these experiences and these essences that are contained within the intelligence of our soul, well, they don't only come from this life, but from other lives as well. And when we identify ourselves with what we think is the the I, the I that we think we are, which is only one small part of us, and that I takes control completely, and we identify with that completely without even noticing it, what happens is that we become completely that I, that self completely controls us without considering that there are many personalities, many parts of us. So then it becomes extremely important becoming more present and bringing much more attention to what happens within us, which then means to be able to feel, to perceive the experience that we are living, but at the same time perceive us experiencing that experience. So if we're able to perceive both parts, so both the event, but also ourselves in perceiving that event and living that event, then we're able to create a space. Then we're able to be less mechanical because we're not identifying ourselves with that. And this is a fundamental work in alchemy, which is about the work that we can do on ourselves to discover the what we are in our whole complexity. So when we are able to notice that we are identifying ourselves completely with one thought or one emotion that takes control or that keeps remaining very much alive within us, when we are able to notice this, that we are identifying ourselves with that, well, this is the first step towards not only awareness, so self-awareness, but it's the first step towards consciousness. The inner work, it's about creating a more stable presence, an observer outside of us that observes us, maintaining a continuous attention towards what it's observing without judgment, without judging it, without feeding it, without repressing it. To do that, it requires great will, attention, as I said before, but also great honesty in observing us, in noticing, simply noticing with honesty everything that is happening within us. Emotions in alchemy are considered to be forces, intelligent forces, forces that we can learn to observe, to understand, to guide, transform, but even more to create intentionally. So emotions are an intelligent energy that we can use in a creative way to move ahead in our spiritual development and spiritual and inner growth, to build a center, a personal, permanent gravity center. When this flows of emotions go through us, they they orientate our consciousness, they guide us, they show us certain directions, they push us to act. And when we start observing them by detaching ourselves from them, so without identifying ourselves fully with them, then we can start guiding them. Then we start not being guided by them and not being controlled by them. And this is the very first step to start the alchemical way, the transformation of ourselves. The emotion itself, well, when it's positive, we enjoy that. When it's negative, usually it takes energy away from us. But the emotion itself is not a problem. We don't need to put our attention on that, really. The problem is the reaction, the automatic reaction that we have, which is a mechanism that doesn't work. Life in a deepest level is not only living longer, living in a more comfortable way, or living with everything that we want, but it's life gets a deeper purpose when we learn to be present. Present to what happens not only outside of us, but also what happens within us. Feeling really that you leave the experience, that you transform the experience, you make it useful instead of letting emotions that go through us, emotions, thoughts, and experiences without even noticing them, without being aware of them. To do so, physical senses are not enough. What I mentioned before, the five senses are not enough, what we normally use. We have to increase to grow our perception by using also other senses. Senses that are both physical and subtle senses. There are senses that we do have that in Damanhur we call inner senses, which are more subtle senses that help us to perceive reality within us, our inner world. These are senses connected to the abilities, the talents, and potentials of that intelligence that we host, which is the soul. So, bringing and learning to bring conscious attention and presence by observing us without judging us, well, this allows us to listen to us ourselves. It allows us to perceive our subtle parts, our energetical structure. It allows us to feel at a deeper level the emotion, and then become able to transform it in a creative way. Most of us as humans, we invest a great amount of energy and study and discipline to measure and know and guide the world outside of us, the external world. And there almost no energy is used to getting to know ourselves, our body first of all, which is in alchemy, is considered to be the most complex laboratory that we have available. And an alive system, intelligent in all its parts. We haven't been trained to focus on what happens within us. In alchemy, we explore a lot. How do our thoughts work? How do they work? Do they move energetically speaking? And the information within us, how does it move through sensations, emotions, and how does our body produce many substances thanks to the emotions and the perceptions that we have of ourselves and the world, chemical substances which have a great impact on us. This inability to invest attention and energy in exploring our inner world, well, then it's very evident, especially in these times, in the society in which we live, where mostly humans are guided by stress, anxiety, hyper mental activity, a constant loss of energy, negativity, aggressiveness, mostly guided by negative emotions. Life that we are living, apparently a comfortable, rich in many external goods, which make this existence pleasant. Apparently, it looks like being a productive, efficient, performing life. But if we look at it internal of us, for many of us, then it's empty. And it's from that empty space that the alchemical work can start, because that starts from the nigredo, the first phase, which is the phase that we call the black work, where we start observing all those parts that can limit us, if we don't want to call them negative, but anyway, those parts that limit the expression of our soul. When we learn to recognize an emotion as a flow, a current of energy, which is intelligent, no matter how we interpret that emotion, whether we interpret it as a negative or positive way, if we learn to understand it as a flow of energy which goes through us and potentially it is intelligent, well, then we're not in control of that. Well, that flow doesn't control us anymore, because emotion as an intelligent current and flow can be transformed as well. So working on emotion, the work on emotion is directly connected to the evolution of humankind. Let's imagine emotions that flowing within us, moving us because they push us. They make us accomplish actions, do actions. They also bring information within our body, within our cells. And because they bring information to which our body will respond to somehow, well, they can signal some lack, some needs, some directions that we need to take, to go to. So every emotion is an intelligent force and dynamic force. From the alchemical point of view, there are no negative or positive emotions in absolute, in in the absolute sense. This could be a moral simplification when we distinguish emotions in positive or negative. There are functional emotions, functional for the evolution, and emotions that are not functional. So emotion becomes non-creative, it becomes destructive in very few cases. It becomes destructive where it's not used somehow. It becomes destructive when it's not used. And when it acts in us without us being aware of it, or when we push it down, we repress it. And when we want to, when we repress our emotion, then we start losing energy. We start it, then it becomes a distortion. Another important concept to start working with emotions is the responsibility. In alchemy, and this is one of the things that we misinterpreted the most nowadays, is believing that we are not responsible of what we think, of what we feel, and we're not responsible of the emotions that go through us. So we consider emotions as something inevitable. We can't intervene, and they are born in us and they die within us after an event, an experience. We don't think we can create them with in a conscious way. In the same way, thoughts go through us, and often we don't think we can create intentionally the thought that we want so that we can direct our reality. This conviction of not being responsible is destructive. It's very destructive. Destructive because it moves the responsibility outside of us completely. And when a humankind gives up uh, to our responsibility of our inner world, well, then we make the situation even worse. So when we don't think we are responsible for our emotions or our thoughts that we have, the level of our energy decreases enormously, and we start suffering. We become victims and not creators. And we start processes of stagnation, where the perception then is not to evolve, even though it's not like that, because anyway, everything that it's life, including emotions and how we perceive them, they make us modify ourselves, but maybe not in the direction that we want. So the responsibility, taking the responsibility is power, is one of the greatest powers that we have available. It's It's not about the external events. The external events don't produce emotions and thoughts, but it's about us. How do we interpret them? We can live an experience, maybe unpleasant experience, and we can make it transformative and make it useful for our evolution. Or we can simply feel fear, feel victims and feel sad and let that emotion stagnate within us. Experience the event, any event of any nature, must be observed. Observed to be understood more clearly without judgment. And it must be used in a creative way. To do so, we need a lot of will. And this is one alchemical element which is very important. Exercise our own will to make this work of presence and attention. Those who give up to use their will, they become victims. Victims. And they delegate their own power to other people. Let me remind you that will is one of the basic elements at the base of any transformational work. And it's the will united with knowledge, united with application and energy that then we get by putting these three elements together. The power that comes from it, it's not just about knowing. It's not just knowledge, their intellectual knowledge. Alchemy is a very practical art. Without application, without applying what we know, then we don't experiment on ourselves, the transformation. Transformation can happen only and only through experience. So the power, it's application. Apply what we know, and that it's hard. It costs energy, will, and the moment we want to apply that. So the moment we have that experience, then when we need to apply certain knowledge, if we're able to make this step, going beyond the pleasure of things. So if we're able to apply what we learn to an experience by applying will, attention, and presence, and self-observation without identifying ourselves with it, then we start entering a creative space. Then we start entering a reality in which everything is possible. Because evolution is a spiral, is a spiral that grows. And this spiral, this growing spiral, becomes more and more quick and creative if we become part of a group. In our school, in our philosophy, we work, we experiment in group. The group and an individual are two fundamental parts. So of course, the individual work on ourselves, sharing it and supported by a group. Within a group which is going towards the same direction, that amplifies the quality of the work that we are doing. And this produces a magical field, a field in which we start experiencing synchronicity, which are extraordinary. This is magic. Experiences in which alive forces like our emotions in connection with energies and forces produced by life outside of us, and the intelligence in using them in a creative way to grow, to evolve, all of this together create a magical synchronic field. The ingredients to do so are not, well, are ingredients and characteristics which are very, very simple, human characteristics. Very simple, but because we are in a state of complete identification and mechanical reaction towards us and the world, where not we don't see these characteristics often. So the characteristics that can really help us in this field of exploration are, for example, trusting ourselves, others, the work and the process that we do in self-awareness, growth, and transformation, in that simplicity, choosing to apply what we get in touch with, knowledge and techniques, rituals with which we get in touch and express our will. Express it in a strong and decisive way, because we constantly and often forget to be present to what we are present in the moment and present to ourselves. We need to study, yes. We need effort, yes. We need time, yes. We need continuity, yes. And we need a lot of fun too. Playfulness, experiment. And all of this, if we enter such a field together with others, trying to transform what limits us into characteristics that are useful to support this path towards evolution. Well, this energetical field will self-generate itself, but we need to be consistent, applying our will to start feeling the benefits, seeing the benefits. When we start feeling the benefits, well, then won't be a hard work anymore. It will be an integrated part, integrated to our existence, to our life. It becomes part of us. We become a more expanded being, a more luminous being, an example for the others, creative and less victim. Let me see if you have any question. Let me check the. Another very important aspect in these times is to re-establish a deep connection with our heart, with the center of emotions, to orientate ourselves, to make it work in deep connection with the mind. The mind, which is a very powerful part, very creative, but if we don't use it well, or if we use it only in a theoretical way, it becomes a limit. How do we establish strong central core to be an effective observer? So building a strong core and stable core, an aware and conscious core, is a consequence of the act of the observation. So it's the observation itself, the self-observation, that creates a strong central core within you. Because in time, the external observer, which doesn't judge but simply observe, will transform what it observes. But the most important thing is not to judge. This is very difficult to do because of the education, social education that we have in these times, because we are very much trained to always judge everything and anything. We have to have opinions, and we have to judge our perception, right? But we don't only express it to contribute and participate into a process. Usually we express that to control, to dominate others, or to bring others think, or to influence others to think exactly what we think or how we think. So not expressing judgment while we self-observe ourselves will produce a substance, aware substance of higher self-awareness, which in time will become, if we do this practice, it will become an external consciousness, your higher self, the best part of yourself outside of you, that when it will be dense enough, active and present, while living the experiences, it will have influence on you in a good way, in a positive way, so that you will create your central core, so that you will become your central core. Did I answer your question, Christine? This is a very wide topic, which in alchemy, in the School of Alchemy, we explore deeply using very creative methodologies. For example, learning to create intentionally some emotions and state of consciousness and transfer the information of that emotion in water. So transfer to water the information of that emotion, so that then you can use the water as a medicine, as a potion that can help you reestablish within ourselves different balance, or produce transformation and change, or recreate that state of consciousness that we want. Alchemy is a very creative art. My time is up, actually. Let me check if Condor is here. So let's invite Condor. I wish you a very interesting continuation, and I hope to see you again. Convoy, everyone. I'm very glad to be here with you. And I'm gonna be with you for the next hour to talk about a very important part of alchemy, which is about the four elements, the elements of the world around us, elements that create the world of forms. And doing a path through those four elements help us create a better connection with ourselves, inner refinement, getting to know the different parts of ourselves. So now let's talk about history for a moment. First of all, how can we collocate these four elements? Air, water, fire, earth, elements that are very important. And through these elements, we can understand in history what happened to better identify them and understand them so that we can give a meaning to them that can help us to better get in connection with these forces that we can call alive forces. What do we want to do during this meeting? We then want to create a connection, a deep relationship between the elements outside of us and the elements within us. Let's start from the first element, the fire. Why do we start as a first element? Why do we start with the fire? Whereas I said, we want to create a relationship, a connection between our fire within us and the fire outside of us. To do so, to create this connection by starting with our own being, with our physical, subtle, inner being, well, then we start from the fire. The fire within us is connected with the solar plexus, the chakra of the solar plexus. In our school, in our tradition, we call chakra with the word Adonaiba, but it's a definition that corresponds very well with the chakra, the chakra that is commonly known. Let's start from the first Adonaiba, the first chakra. We entered into a new era, the Aquarius era, in which many ways of interpreting reality and the world happened, especially when it's about evolution, the evolution of humankind. And with a new possibility to enter a new plan of reality, then it's easier to find opportunities, possibilities to reawake ourselves. So we start from the Adonaiba, this chakra that we call Nalteco, because we entered in this new field of reality. And we're gonna do some quick meditations together where we see how the fire is a central element, important element connected to this energetical centered. Let's try to understand the importance of fire as an element within the field of reality in which we live, in which we all lived for millions of years. How did people live? They would live in uncertainty, right? And when the primitive primal humans discovered fire, then they got the possibility to move in an easier way in the world of form, right? In the reality. So that they started creating a much deeper relationship with the time, the element time. So fire can remain lit for hundreds, millions, thousands of years, right? Imagine those fires that are being kept in temples. These fires, they are protected in time because they bring they bring time, they bring the element time and memory. They are protected. There used to be, and there still are, some custodians, protectors of these fires. In the ancient times, there were also some custodians, protectors of fires in certain tribes, old ancient tribes. There were social functions, magical functions were linked to the element fire with the ability and the need to protect this element, the fire. The moment in which humans started discovering this fire, this element, they became able, for example, to move during nighttime, or they became able to cook food, also with a ritual value. So magical, linked to the magical field. So talking about a magical and spiritual aspect, people, individuals, after death, for example, they started being burned, bodies started being burned, offering, purifying bodies through the fire so that they could move in the space, in the beyond after death. So you see how the discovery of fire modified completely in a substantial way the way of living and the way of being of humanity, both in the practical and physical and social way, but also in the spiritual, magical world. So the parts linked to our evolution, also spiritual evolution. In time, they started making distinction between the warm fire of the day that allowed, for example, important rituals to happen And then the fire of the night, the fire of the reflection of the moon, the fire of the stars, of the mirrors of water. So we can see then the fire underground, the fire that it's more negative or that we can identify it with more negative values. And then the celestial fire, the fire that opens up to the world above us, to the sky, and that it's a fire that can bring, as we said before, very interesting elements from the evolutionary path of humankind. Another interesting element is in the identification of fire with something that consumes to renew and to renew itself. We can also explore another interesting part, which also allowed to collect useful elements needed in the path of evolution and knowledge, also having to do with the evolution and sorry, the reading of the future, and people started reading the fire, right? For example, some specific liquids also are used. Liquids that when are put in fire, they create smoke, smoke that then allows to do specific readings. And for example, when we want to get in touch and synchrony with the fire element, we can talk to the flame. In ancient times, they used to do this. Talking near the flame, that meant to say the truth. To say the truth, because no one could disrespect fire and speak in its present, speaking something which is not true. So fire in our history became an element of great attention, which connected practical needs for our survival, physical needs, but also magical, sacred attention. So by having some knowledge, and maybe also through the alchemical path, we're going to touch some of these aspects. By getting some specific knowledge, then we can start reading the fire and entering a dialogue with the element fire. And by the way, it's also possible to use our telepathy in the communication with the fire through significance that the fire brings to us. It's also possible to communicate even with other people with telepathy through the fire. So people who are not physically there, but with who we want to create a certain connection. So thanks to the element fire, a whole ritual structure was created, offering food, fire as a testimony of what people would do, collecting a real ritual collection of what is produced by a humankind or by a group of humans that gather together and who want and have the desire of using the fire as an alive element so that it can collect and keep and protect the testimony of what happens and what it's done in time. So here we enter in an alchemical field. The fire will accompany us step by step, leading to our alchemical path together, and will accompany us also because some alchemical operations, ritual alchemical operations, some of these passages can happen the moment in which there is a flame, a fire that gives energy to the person who accomplished this operation, but it also allows to collect the results produced by this alchemical operation, thanks to the fact that the flame protects that, and then in the future it can reproduce again. And it can give extra energy to what we'll need to do in the following alchemical path. Let's consider also that there are some inner fires, sexual fire, fires connected to different memories that we want to get to know and to identify and collect within us. Fires connected to our personalities. We're going to do some rituals connected to our personalities that can help us to better prepare for our alchemical operations, which require the presence of a fire that becomes a fire to connect, to unite, giving the possibility to better connect and better unite our parts. This is what I wanted to share about fire. Fire and how is that, and what happens in our history and what the fire represented in our human history. And let me now share a brief experience of what a fire can be. And let's identify within ourselves some of the elements that are very similar to what we started exploring and seeing together. And let's discover this connection with Alteco. The Alteco, as I said, is the first Adonai Ba, which is positioned in our spine, as all the other chakras as well, is positioned at the height of our belly button. So between the spine and the belly button. And it has a very interesting meaning because it's connected to the characteristics also of the fire element. In fact, one of the interesting main characteristics of this energetic center is connected to transformation. This center is the center that transforms energy. It's the center that brings energy within our being, and it transforms. And this is on the physical plan, but if we also explore the subtle plan, energetical and spiritual plan, that it's also that element which transforms our limits in opportunities, in possibilities, allowing us to getting to know ourselves better and solve certain situations, inner situations, perhaps that can create some difficulties in our life path, in our evolutionary path. So now we're going to have a small, short experience together. So I ask you to find a comfortable position on your chair. Close your eyes, remove your glasses so that we can feel free completely. This is an Adonaiba energetical center linked also to freedom. So let's start breathing together, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. We find inner peace. Bring your attention to your physical body, perceive it, be in it. Feel your body. Keep breathing through our physical body. Observe, observe your breath. Our breath moving in our full body, especially those parts that require more energy, vital energy, the energy of the fire. And slowly bring this energy within your spine. That energetical center close to your belly button. We are entering a world colored in golden, the Alteco world, a world in which we find our personal power. Especially, we find our ability to transform thanks to the fire element contained within this energetical center. The center of our energetical transformation, a very vital center, thanks to the fire, a fire that we feel deeply within us, and we feel its characteristics. We feel its main characteristics. Luminous. We are being luminous. The heat, a heat that helps us find the right balance, pleasure balance within ourselves, within our path in our life, giving us trust, self-confidence, in this golden world. We notice a flame now, a beautiful luminous flame shining. We connect with it. We listen to it. We listen to the flame. We listen to the meaning, the opportunities, that this flame can offer to us in this moment. We feel its strength, its ability to transform. We observe it and we listen to it. In this moment of great awareness, we connect deeply with this element, the fire element, the fire within us. We listen to what it's telling us. But also we listen, how are we experiencing this moment of great awareness? Getting in touch with this element, the element fire within us. Now, slowly, we come back to our physical body. We get in touch with it. We move a little bit. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes so that we can continue our journey. Getting in touch then with another element, which is air. Sort of a mobile crystal in which the complexity of life is. An element characterized by movement, mobility, speed of the movement. And the crystal we talked about before is often transparent, like air, which creates purity, a sense of purity. And then we can imagine a spiral where the fire is the most important element of the fire. But if we go down into the earth and then we come back into the air, and then we go back to water, and then we go back to up to the fire, we are creating a spiral. A spiral that when it gets the maximum of the fire, water, and air, it will then become ether. The most strange elements, more connected to the unpredictable, can be connected to the air element. And now let's understand what it means air in our inner world. We'll keep doing another brief meditation. So I again ask you to go back to a state of consciousness where your awareness can help you remain connected and centered in your inner world. starting breathing again deeply and closing our eyes again. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. Exploring our physical body through breath. Breath connecting with the air element. Mobile breathing, a breathing which is connected to love. Love connecting with all our parts in this path. Let's observe our breath, our breathing. Breathing connected to the air element. And through our spine, now we connect with the chakra that we call Nalimati in sacred language, which is in our spine at our heart level. And now the world becomes orange. It's a world connected to love, gratitude, compassion. Union. An important element connected to air. Air moves in all places, all points in the field of reality in the world, bringing this energy connected to air, life, bringing energy in all the parts of space, the world of humans and all forms. Empty spaces, full spaces. It's a field of union. Nalimat. Out of us, but also within us. It's a field of union that creates freedom and liberation. Now you are in this world, orange, and in this world you discover a blue sky. A blue sky which have some clouds, perhaps. Some things that you want to send further away from you. So this air, this wind that it's all around you in this sky, in this blue sky, this wind is now pushing away this thoughts that might be a bit heavy, and you are pushing them away. Air is pushing them away, and you enter the element air. You are within this element, an element that brings freedom, union, connection, love. And this is your sky. Your blue sky becomes completely free, completely open. Everything becomes clear now in this very moment of full awareness, where this element air flows through you, and you now discover the strength of this element. the ability to create union and love in your being, in all the parts of your being. The element air. Be with it. Dialogue with this air, wind. And now slowly come back to your physical body. With small movements, you can open your eyes and the journey continues. And we now connect to another element. That element that grows all forms, matures in silence also all the substances, modeling all forms, all shapes, that element that creates stability, firmness. And now we continue this journey within us, still with our eyes closed, to continue deeply this journey. We enter the element air within us. We connect with the roots, with our roots and those of the planet, with our deep breath, a breath that holds with it strength and the vital energy of earth, connecting us with physical matter, a breath that connects us to earth, Mother Earth. And slowly we enter within ourselves to find an energetical center between our genitals and so close to our genitals, then we connect to that part which connects to the deep earth, which is the earth within us, but also connecting to the earth outside of us, Mother Earth. So you enter within this energetical part and you feel a deep connection, deep connection with the earth element. Earth, giving you a feeling of strength, certainty, peace, deep connection with Mother Earth. You feel this. You recognize this earth element within you and outside of you. And you feel calm, deep trust, firmness, stability. You feel rooted in the deep part of yourself, connected to Mother Earth. Feel this connection, stability, trust, rooted deeply, certainty, peace, calm, silence. This is the earth element that you are discovering within you, which you experience deeply. Listen to what it's telling you. Now you come back to your physical body because we're going to meet the fourth element, water, the one that we contain the most in our body. That element that brings energy, makes energy flow, that transports memory, but also that element that conserves, that protects. Leave what water brings into the world of forms. For a few more moments, this journey, we continue this journey within us. And through our breath, we bring energy within us. And we bring this awareness within the fourth energetical center, positioned at the basis of our spine. In this energetical center, we find a world colored in green, the world of emotions, of flowing, of water. You start feeling water flowing. You observe it, you feel it, you see this river flowing. You feel the movement of this river, the emotion produced by this water, and the memories produced by your perception that you have. These water flowing and the emotions and the memories that more and more connected to your being with great intimate joy, with great intimate connection. So now you connect, you listen to the water within you, which is also outside of you, but now you're deeply connected to yourself, the deepest part of Varusvat. And you are collecting now some images, some emotions, some impressions, some memories through the air element. You listen deeply in this moment of great awareness. Now slowly come back to your physical body. We're going to experience more and more of these moments together throughout in our alchemical path. We're gonna meet these elements. We're gonna unite them, connect them with other elements. We're going to understand the characteristics of these elements and their potentials, the potentials offered by these elements in a more and more detailed and deeper way, we're going to discover within us, will create some alchemical combinations, energetical combinations, connections within us. And this is an important part of our path that I hope we'll experience together. Ragno, how are we doing with time? All right, so we have Ragno back with us. Thank you, Condor, and thank you all. We are back together. So you have talked about two important aspects of alchemy, first with Gura and then with Condor. Two very important aspects, the basis on which the path of alchemy is founded. So the attention and the presence of oneself, what Gura shared with you. And if you like to practice it, one of the very simple way and practical way to develop this self-observer is the famous diary. Every evening, asking ourselves, what did I learn today? Was this day worth living? Asking such questions, and as Buddha said, observing what we experienced. Observe the day, the emotion that you experience, the relationship with others, feelings. Have we been guiding our life or have we reacted to events? These are all questions that allow us to develop this observer. And as Condor, you did with Condor, the inner self-observation, thanks to guided meditations that we can all do, we can learn to observe ourselves, finding our inner laboratory. And I want to continue on this. I will share with you another topic, which is connected to the energies of humankind. The vital energy is that characterized by the expression of our masculine and feminine energies. So what does it mean? Because we have these two energetical polarities that alternate, generating that movement, well, then it has an inner connection, but also outside of us, our relationship with people, female or male, the relationship we establish with people depend first of all on the relationship that we have with our own feminine and our own masculine. And this is one of the topics that during the first level of the school, we're going to explore and learn about what are the characteristics, masculine characteristics that both men and women have, and what are the feminine characteristics that both men and women have. This polarity, we are made of polarity that are united. The objective in alchemy is to create harmony, inner harmony, what in ancient time was called the golden nucleus, where masculine and energy and feminine energy would move and transform, creating this balance. When we reach this perfect balance, this knowledge, when we would reach this knowledge, then we would reach that point that it's called the androgen, when humankind is complete, as reunited. The androgen is this complete being, human being at its maximum expression and level. As Condor said, I will share some experiences, and if you have questions on what I'm sharing, please write them down so that I can have a moment towards the end of our meeting where I can answer to some of these questions. Going back to this feminine and masculine energies in the alchemical ancient tradition, until nowadays, the male energies are represented by the movement, transformation, breaking the scheme. On the other hand, the feminine energy is represented as by the welcoming, stability, nourishment, taking care. It's much more linked to the welcoming, receiving, welcoming, while the male energy is the other side. It's about movement. These are fundamental characteristics that we need in order to understand ourselves. Each one of us contain both these energies. We will do a meditation to discover these energies. How do we express these energies within ourselves and outside of us? Both the male, the masculine, and the feminine. Perhaps we will discover that some of our feminine parts are very different compared to what we imagined. And this happens thanks to the self-observation. And during our path in alchemy, we will develop what we call a ritual language. Why a ritual language? The ritual is that language, is that technique that allow us to express in the right way alchemy. All the scientists use protocols, specific techniques, repeated and repeated so they can reach their objective. Alchemy was born before science and inspired science in working like that. In alchemy, we create protocols, a way of doing that allow us to obtain results that can be reproduced. This is very important. It's not everything based on just mysticism, but nor everything is based on technique and ritual technique. These are two aspects that unite together. In the same way, the feminine and the masculine part unite. When we learn that ritual language that gives shape to how we can express and how we can move our energies, then we create a space where we can open up to our mysticism, to feeling, to perceiving, to the contact with our higher energies. As Gura said before, we confuse ourselves with, and because we identify ourselves with one part of us, as if it was the whole. What you're seeing about me now is 5% of my reality, of what I am. The same way how you are that point, the tip of the pencil that in this moment is writing the experience of this life. But you are not only that tip of the pencil, you are much more than that. Something that there used to be before and something that will be in the future as well. And once we learn to manage our energies, then we learn to walk on the bridge that connects humanity with the divine. We are divine beings that are experiencing the earth as humans. So our spiritual center is not the human part, that is a small expression. Our center is the divine spiritual part. Thanks to our female and masculine energies, we can move all the energetical centers that you also experienced before with Condor, that will allow us to connect with, let's call it as you want, the universal mind, your higher self, your divine spark, something bigger. You call it as you want, but it's the essence that we're interested to. It's the experience that we need to open up to. And to do so, as in every situation, first of all, we need to create order. Order, because if we need to travel, we need also a car, and we have a car that can take us, on the journey, but we need to have the right, we need to have the fuel, we need to have the oil, we need to have, the right tires and so on. Because if the car has all its components, then we can drive and it can take us far away. In the same way, our body, our chemical body, us from our physical body, our emotional body, our energetical bodies, Condor talked to you about, and then our mental body and our spiritual body, our soul, then all these components together create the big puzzle, which is our alchemical body. We are a big onion with many, many layers, and each layer has a specific function. And the more we learn to use them, the more we become more aware. Emotions are a language that humans use to communicate with its divine form. That's why it's so important. That's why we started from there. And Gura was telling you about the importance of emotions. because we can recall them, we can produce them, we can manage them, we can direct them. But in our experience, we often think that emotions are born freely and they guide us. When we are in love, we lose, or when we're mad, we see everything black. When we're in love, we see everything in pink. We think we have no control over it, but we can actually choose to make certain things happen or move, and that's why observation is very useful. When we have this clear, we can ask ourselves, do I want to live this? Yes or no? And then alchemy gives us practical techniques to move or to choose which aspect to leave. And the beautiful part is that if we recall joy, opening, we then create a frequency that will recall such an experience. And all of this, going back to the example of feminine and masculine, we need the engines working well. If we don't have the energies in harmony, then the car won't work very well and won't take us very far. We will have to stop to fix some problems because something is not working well. That it's when in the humankind the disease starts emerging, when there is an unbalance in our energies, then the disease comes. It's an unbalance of our energies. So first of all, we need to start getting to know what are the main energies within us. The energies connected to the elements, the energies connected to the male and feminine. These are all vital energies or sexual energies that generate life, movement, vitality. Children express this energy 100%. You see them. What happens is that in years, this flame that they have so alive, it starts going down a bit. And that doesn't happen in everyone, of course, but it can happen in people getting old, the flame getting old. And it's not about age, but it's about how we manage our energies. You might have met people who are very young, but they look like 30, or the vice versa, people who are old in age, but actually they look much younger. These can happen in different ways, and it's all about how we manage our energies. And we need to get to know us, because if we know, then we can start managing. So now we can do, let's call it a game that will enable us to observe our male and female parts. We'll be observers. And we can create a dialogue with these parts. Opening up to an inner dialogue is very important for our evolution. Because we're made of many parts, and these parts are intelligent, we need to create a relationship that allows us to exchange, to have a good exchange with all our parts. It's a bit like living in family, where we are in harmony with our partners, parents, friends, children, with our community, with our network at school, work. If we have beautiful relationship that give us nourishment, then our health will have great benefits. To live such relationships, first of all, we need to live in harmony within us. Because then, whether we're aware of not, we will explore, we will bring this essence outside of us we will project this in the relationship with other people. So if we have harmony within us, then the relationship with people outside of us will become harmonious. Instead, if we are in conflict within us, we will create and find conflict outside of us. Well, I'm not saying that if you are in peace within you, you will find peace outside of you constantly. No, I'm not saying that, but it means you will have more ability to be concentrated in that, not being conditioned by external conditions that will create bad feelings within you. And we're starting already doing it now, because now we already start learning to regain our own power and responsibility, expressing our power of choice. If we use these aspects and we understand the power, then we can change and improve our life. And this is the objective of alchemy, improve our life. And by doing so, we can improve life of people around us. Now, if you like, we can do a short meditation to start observing and dialogue and create a dialogue with our female and masculine parts. To do so, we start in a comfortable position. So we need to put our physical body in a comfortable position so that we're not distracted. You can either sit down or lay down on your bed. You can choose so that we can open up to a meditation. Start breathing slowly, deeply. Inhaling through the mouth. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. And start bringing your attention in a central point within you. The point you feel this moment, it's your center. Breath after breath. Feel this flame, this light within you. And your attention makes it stronger, makes it brighter. Breath after breath. You feel this flame now dividing itself in two. One is yellow, orange, and one more blue, connected to the moon. warm. One is very warm, and another one is very luminous but cooler. These two fires, these two flames, which are born from the same one. They move between two parts of ourselves. And breath after breath, we first turn to the lunar flame, which is naturally connected to the feminine parts of us. We observe it, we greet it, and we thank it. Thank you for being here. Because this flame makes us understand, brings us intuition, observation. And then you can ask your flame, how are you expressing yourself in my life? You, female energy, how are you expressing yourself in my daily life? Once we ask this question, we listen to the answer. Can be an emotion, an image, memories, anything is fine. We are looking at this flame and we are feeling grateful, joyful, and we feel how it makes us luminous. We feel the answers. Some of these answers, maybe we know them already. Some others, maybe they're new to us. And we keep breathing. And this communication opens more and more. And we feel these energies, female energies in our life today, in the relationship with people. Our mother, our partner, our friends, our girlfriends, female figures that somehow are the mirrors of our own female energy. What is our relationship with these people? These are all questions that open an inner dialogue. And we keep breathing. And while we breathe, we thank this fire, this lunar fire, blue fire, female fire dancing. Thank you. And now we turn around. We move to another room where we meet another fire, a solar fire, luminous, yellow. And we greet this fire, and this is our masculine fire. We thank it. We open up a dialogue also with our masculine fire. It's a moving fire. Fire of connection with the masculine part that generates, that breaks the schemes. How does this energy express itself in our life? Or maybe how does it want to express itself? So let's ask this question and let's listen to the answer. And we keep breathing, and we are one with this solar energy, with this fire, luminous fire. And we feel the answers within us, these emotions, these images, everything is well. We welcome them because then we will then understand the meanings of what we're receiving now. But now let's just listen to them and welcome them. And now these energies, this male energy brought some new awareness to us that we see in the relationship with our father, with our brothers, with our partners, with our friends. And now we want to thank this fire. Thank you. Now we welcome the male and the female fires to unite, to dance together in one unique fire. We have these parts which are one. In alchemy, we learn to unite, to divide, but then we learn to reunite because we are one. There's no division. The division can be used as a tool to manage our energies, to know them, to direct them. Now we breathe with this inner fire, the center, the vital energy within us. Our heat, if you feel your hands and feel this heat, is the fire that gives us this heat. We all have fire within. Life is fire. Breath after breath, we thank this one vital fire within us, and we prepare to come back to the present, here and now. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. We move and we feel our body. And now we feel this allows us to come back centered with an additional awareness, additional experience. This is alchemy. Alchemy must be practical. There needs to be an experience, otherwise it's just didactic, but it's just a theory, but it's not alchemy. Sometimes we need to create, to feed our mind with some information, giving it some information at the beginning, but then true alchemy happens with experience. When we live it, when we express it, this is a fundamental aspect. All paths in alchemy, the Damanhurian ones, but any alchemical paths is made of experience. Knowledge happens thanks to experience. And when we live this knowledge, then it becomes consciousness, because it becomes an experience which is then part of us and becomes consciousness. That is the objective of humanity. expanding our consciousness. We came here to increase knowledge, but to expand our consciousness, be more and more conscious of us and what's around us. To do so, we need to explore. We need to be the explorers. As you know, when we were curious is when we were kids. And in that way, getting to know ourselves and therefore open up to an infinite world. We're about to finish this session together. So if you have questions, sharings, this is the time to write in the chat. In the meantime, I share some additional information. So how are we going to continue this adventure together? The School of Alchemy, for those of you who like to. I see some people here who are already part of the path, some people who will start in February when we start the school. This first course that opens up to the experience, 2 days together, 2 days online, that makes us live in practice what it's alchemy in Damanhur. We'll get to know better emotions. What are they as alchemical elements? And we're going to create through certain techniques our own spiritual direction, what we call an alchemical potion, a direction, a choice. We will, from within ourselves, we will create something new, something that will allow us to improve our life, because we will choose where to go. That's going to be the interesting part. Many things will happen, especially for you who have participated into this evening together. You will receive some communication via email. For those of you who'd like to, you'll also have the possibility to sign up with an early bird rate. And there's, yes, a promotion that it's done specifically for you who participated into this lesson. This is important because it's our way to thanking you for, in a practical way, thanking you for being here with us tonight. For those of you who want, there will be the possibility to understand whether this is a good path for you or maybe not. So to do so, you can book a personal coaching session, individual session with me for Italians, with Gura for English speakers. So in the next days, you will receive a link to book a half an hour session with us, a half an hour talk with us to exchange. Maybe you have some questions, expectations, or anything you'd like to share with us and ask us personally so that we can discuss together. For me, I think alchemy is a gift to humanity, so it's good for anyone. But you really need to find out what it's useful for you. How can that help you? How can that help you to improve your life? These are all things we can discuss together, explore together, so that you can make your best choice. I'm reading some messages here. Change yourself, you're going to change the world. Yes. Other people thanking. We created now a vibration, a group of people vibrating, a feeling, shared feeling that allow us to touch each other energetically. Even though in this moment we are very distant one from another. The essence doesn't have any boundary. We created an energetical field that united us and brought us to vibrate at very high levels. So tonight, my suggestion is to bring this frequency along with you in your dreams, because often when we're able to do that, we are able to dream intuitions, special dreams that can be very helpful. So this is something that we can develop and we explore during our school, but it's the energy that we're able to produce and generate together. Thank you. Thank to all of you. And this energy will allow us possibly tomorrow to have a better day, and even our dreams will be enriched, because this is alchemy, generating an energetical field together, strong, nourished with your attention. You will see the effects and results in your life. Thank you all. This was a beautiful experience. This is the opening to the new year. The new year that will start in February with a course that we call the beginning of the path, the first weekend that you're all invited to join, experiment, give yourself an opportunity, because you'll see this will give you a lot. As for us instructors, in many years, we had the possibility to have many experiences, share many experiences that nourished us, and you see it will nourish you as well. Thank you all. I wish you a great continuation of your day or evening, and hopefully I'll see you soon on the screen. So hopefully if you come to visit us in Damanhur. Have a great evening, everyone. Come by.
Grazie, grazie.